So what you're doing there is you do something like you describe a possible world in which Al Gore is the president of the US in 2001, and you see what happens in that world. So you take the Gore is president in 2001. If Gore had been president in 2001, let's take this world, and then you're just describing what goes on in this possible world. Right? That's a reasonable way to think of it. So we've got two identifiers here. We've got Al Gore and we've got the president of the US in 2001. So in the actual world, in this world, Al Gore designates one guy, and the president of the US in 2001, that designates someone else. Someone else who uniquely fits that description. Right? Who is it? Sorry? George W. Bush, right? Okay, so actually George W. is what's designated by the description here. Al Gore designates a quite different person. So what we're considering here is a world in which they designate the same person. Yeah? Okay, so in this world, let's suppose it's this world where Gore is president in 2001, then does the name Al Gore designate the same person in this world as it does in this world? No? It should, yes. I mean, that's what you're doing. You're looking at poor old Al. Actually, it could be a better example. But anyway, you're looking at poor old Al who's there with his feet up over the fire going on about what could have happened if only. And you say, well, what would have happened if he had been president in 2001? You're talking about that person and asking what would have happened if they'd won that election. Yeah? So it's going to be the same person. But consider the president of the US in 2001. When we're considering this scenario, does that description designate the same person in this scenario as it does in this scenario? No, right? In the actual scenario, it designates George W. In this scenario, it's designating Al Gore. Yes? Okay, so this is general. When you're talking about any possible world, if you're saying, if Al had learned to play timpani, he could have been a great performer, you're still talking about that same person in a different possible world. Yeah? That's what a name does. It kind of grabs onto a person and lets you think about what would have happened to them in lots of different situations. Whereas a description like the president of the US, that's a role. That's a role that someone might fill, and different people can fill that role in different possible worlds. How should I put this? Being Al Gore is not really, I mean, we've got that thing being John Malkovich, it's not really, it's kind of a joke because there's such a thing as the role of being president of the United States. But being Al Gore or being John Malkovich, that's not really a role that many people could fill. I mean, there's only one, right? It doesn't really make sense to talk about it as if it's a role that lots of people could fill. So for any other world that you're talking about, when you're talking about any other possibility, Al Gore refers to just the same person as it does in this world. With the description, the president of the US, there are lots of people that who could fill that role. Ron Paul, you or me. Right? I mean, you can imagine any kind of counterfactual situation. Yeah? So lots of different people could fill that. So what's going on there is that you take names. I mean, this is quite general. It's not that there's something special about the name Al Gore. You take names, and what you do is you use the name to keep track of the same object in different possible situations. When you're talking about what could have happened to someone, if you say, if only I had the opportunities, I could have been a great violinist. If only they hadn't all been so mean to me, I'd be a nice person today. What you're doing there is you're using the designator to lock on to the person and then say, what would have happened to that person in all these other situations? But a description does something different. A description identifies a general role, and in different counterfactual situations, in different possible worlds, different individuals can occupy that role. So that's another big difference between names and descriptions. Yeah? Names have got that lock on to the thing and then talk about what could have happened to it. Descriptions aren't working like that. Can you put up your hand if that's okay? Okay. If it's not okay, you're going to try to complain right now. Okay. Okay. All right, so if you've got that, then the doctrine of rigid designation is easy. Kripke says, let's call something a rigid designator if in every possible world it designates the same object. So class, do we have any examples of rigid designators? Can we think of any term that might meet that definition? Al Gore, yes, right. As it might be. Right. And indeed, any name is going to work like that. Yeah? Yeah? If he changes his name, yeah. That's right, Al Gore might not have been called Al Gore, no question about that. But would he still be Al Gore? That is the issue. He'd be a really different, yeah, right. But just think about that formulation. He'd be a really different person. Right? Well, of course it's language. No, I just mean you've got to use language when you're talking, if you see what I mean. You've got to have, when you say he'd be a really different person, there's you're assuming a sense in which there's one and the same thing that exhibiting all these different characteristics in another possible world. So you've got to have that lock on. I mean, you're not just saying, well, there could be somebody different there. You see what I mean? I mean, it doesn't make sense to say it wouldn't be Al Gore in different counterfactual situations. And what I mean is, suppose you say, well, suppose he drunk some magic potion that turned him into a butterfly. Right? Then you can imagine a situation in which someone drinks a magic potion and the person is killed and a butterfly replaces them, and their cells are used to make a butterfly. Right? So there's two different things there, the person and the butterfly. But it's natural to think, can it really make sense of that being the same person, the butterfly being Al? Surely that wouldn't be Al. You see what I mean? It may be made from Al cells, but it wouldn't be Al. Yep. But look, if Al just changes his name, if he's not called the Al, right? That's not going to be enough to make him a different person. If he's just got a different name. Yeah. I mean, if only it was so easy. Yeah. I mean, otherwise, change of name would really be pretty radical. When I'm using the name right now, yeah. I mean, this is an important point because it really is confusing, this thing. When I'm using the name right now, when I'm using the name Al Gore right now, I'm using it to denote one and the same person in all these different situations. Yeah. It doesn't matter whether they're called Al Gore in all these different situations. All that matters is that that's the person my use of the word now designates. Yeah. And I'm using that to keep track of them through all these different situations. Yeah. And that includes situations where they change their name. Or nobody speaks English. Yeah, or there's no language at all. Yeah. What about that? Yes?
The reference point is actual world.
Reference point. That's where we are. Yeah, we're in the actual world. Yeah. That's kind of API. We're in the actual world. Whatever world this is, that's the actual one. Yeah, yeah. That's a fair next move. Right, that is like the next move on. I think that is very much Christie's picture. The name is a simple tag for the object, and its task is just to keep tagging that object, whichever world you're talking about, whatever strange transformations that object might be undergoing as you travel through counterfactual space. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Okay. So in any world, the name Algor is going to be referring to just the same person, whether they've changed their name or not, whether they're called Algor in that world or not. Whereas a description is describing a role that different people can play in different counterfactual situations. We're using names to keep track of the same object across different possible situations, whereas the descriptions identifying a general role, and as you travel across the possible worlds, different objects will fill that role. So a rigid designator is one in which in every possible world designates the same object. So long as you hold constant the meaning of the sign, and so long as you don't suddenly start using Algor to mean, my pink toothbrush or whatever, so long as you hold constant the meaning of the sign, whenever you're using a name to specify a possible world, it always refers to the same object. That's the value of names in counterfactual thinking. So Algor is a rigid designator, as you said. It always designates the same thing in different possible worlds. We said you can talk about the designation of a definite description. We can say there's exactly one object, which is f. The definite description, vf, designates that object. Right, so it's not true reference, you can talk about designation here. So definite descriptions are going to designate different objects in different possible worlds. The President of the US in 2001, that's going to designate different people, right? Al, you, me, yeah. Yeah.
So in the actual world, Aristotle refers to Aristotle,
Uh-huh.
but in some possible world, the way you interpret the name Aristotle is by picking out the person in the actual world and then referring to the author.
You could, that makes perfect sense. You could construct a language that works like that, yeah. But the thing is, even in that world, suppose that some of Aristotle's contemporaries are talking about him, you look right at him, and you say, well, of course he owes it all to his father. Aristotle owes it all to his father. It's his father that got him to where he is. If it hadn't been for the influence of his father, he wouldn't have had a chance. He's no better than you or me, they say, right? I mean, it's just academic life. It's just luck and influence that's got him there. Yeah, that's what they're saying. In your language, they wouldn't have a way of expressing that. If they try to say, Aristotle wouldn't have been where he was without his father, they suddenly start talking about his father. And they're saying that his father wouldn't have been where he was without his father. But that's not what they meant to be saying. They meant to be saying something about this one right in front of them. Yeah? So you could have a language like yours, but it would be impoverished. There'll be things you do want to say that you couldn't say in your language. Although I suppose, if Aristotle had a son, you might get the effect you want, right? Oh, that's right. Right. Yeah, but in a different, when you shift to talking about a different possible world, right? You have to be able to designate the son in the actual world, and then shifting out to the other possible world, talk about the father. What was going on with the father in that world? Yeah. But how should I say it? At the very least, it would be cumbersome. It would be very hard to follow what was going on, and you might not be able to do that at all. I mean, if Aristotle didn't have a son. This is just kind of descriptive linguistics, really. It's just saying this is how the names work in our language. This is describing what goes on in our language. So it doesn't really have any more authority than that. And I think you're completely right in this work. It is worth thinking about languages where something different happens, because it helps bring out whether there is anything deep about this fact about our language, so that you couldn't change it easily. And you need a lot longer discussion, but of the same kind that we just have it yet to get at that. But so far it's just presented as something that this is actually, this is how in fact names work in our language. Yeah. Okay. So see, yeah. 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 I think it goes pretty far. I mean, it stretches to everything conceivable. I think everything that's genuinely conceivable. My basic point about the counterfactuals, though, is that we have a way of understanding counterfactuals in ordinary life that doesn't really depend on having some analysis of what possibility is. When I say to you, you nearly knocked me off my back, you could easily have not. If I'd been a bit closer, you'd have knocked me off my back. We can argue about that counterfactual perfectly well, and if you back off and say, yeah, but are you talking about conceptual possibility? I'm going to say, okay, that's it, I'm suing. you see what I mean? We have a way of talking about counterfactuals that is quite, I should say, grounded in that it doesn't depend on some analysis. I don't at all mean to deny that there are interesting questions about how you give an analysis of it, but what I mean is in just common sense life, in everyday life, we do understand this talk of possibilities perfectly well in terms of counterfactuals. Yeah. Okay, so remember, Frege's version of the description theory was Aristotle just means, has the same sense as the last great philosopher of antiquity, and if not this one, then some other description. But if everything I've said so far has been right, could that be true? It can't be true. Is this one a rigid designator? Is this one a rigid designator? Therefore, can they have the same meaning? No, they're different meanings. Therefore, it's just a mistake to suppose that names can be equivalent to descriptions. Yeah. Aristotle refers to the same thing in every possible world. The last great philosopher of antiquity designated different things in different possible worlds. Therefore, they have different meanings. And of course, it's not going to help if you move to thinking of a bag or a cluster of descriptions, because the whole cluster of descriptions is going to be whatever the opposite of rigid is, flexible. I guess they're going to refer to different things, designate different things in different possible worlds. So, even if you set aside Russell's point for the moment, names can't mean the same thing as descriptions. They just don't mean the same thing as descriptions. A name doesn't have the same meaning as a description. So when Frege said you've got the sign, you've got the description, fixing reference, you've got reference to the sign, that picture, just because of these considerations, has to be incorrect. And as someone said a moment ago, this kind of picture, when a name is just locking onto the object, so you can keep tabs on that object and thinking about it counterfactually through different situations, that seems a much more appealing picture here. But now notice that something, sorry, we've only got a couple of minutes to go, so let me get to my punchline, such as this is, and the first time then take questions. If you take Hesperus as the brightest thing in the morning sky, that's not true in all possible worlds. Right? That might be true in this world, but you can imagine other worlds in which there's an extra star there. Yeah? But suppose you take Hesperus is phosphorus. Suppose you take any identity statement. Bruce Wayne is Batman. Right? Any identity statement involving two proper names. These are both rigid designators. So both of them identify the same thing in every possible world. So is that a necessary truth? Well, necessary means true in all possible worlds. The two of them refer to the same thing in every possible world. So you're not going to find a possible world in which Hesperus refers to one thing and phosphorus refers to another. So Hesperus and phosphorus in every world refer to the same thing as each other. So that statement is necessary. If it's true that Bruce Wayne is Batman, it's necessary that Bruce Wayne is Batman. Think anyone who's got two names. Those two names, the identity you frame using those two names is necessary, but it's not going to be a priori. So how did that happen? If it's necessary, how come you need to look? But if I've stated this right, the argument so far should be completely compelling. How can there be necessary truths that are not a priori? Remember I said it's very natural to take it that the two of them go together. Searle takes it that the two, I mean Searle was writing before 50 of course, but everyone took it before 50 that the two of them go together. But how can that be right? Quickly, yeah, I think the bell's gone, quickly. Yeah, that would make it go away if somehow in the name Hesperus there was the name Phosphorus. But the whole trouble is it's not. You stand there looking at the morning sky and you say, call it Hesperus. You look at the evening sky, you say, call it Phosphorus. You have no idea whether they're the same. You formulate the identity statement, Hesperus is Phosphorus. You just state something that's a necessary truth. And you have no way of finding it out without a lot further observation. We really have to stop at this point. We'll pass the hour. Okay, more in the next time.